Good morning, everyone. What a nice welcome to have back. I haven't been in the pulpit for a while, so this is new so show me a little grace now and then, okay? I would like to introduce you to two very special people that we have in our midst today. The first one is Reverend Florence Caplow. Did I pronounce that right? Okay. And she's a UU minister and a Zen priest, as well as a teacher, writer, a conservation biologist. She was most recently the lead minister at the UU Church of Urbana-Champaign and last spoke here in our very church in 2017. And I understand she's very delighted to be back with us today. Do you want to stand up and say hi? Our other guest with us is Emily McGowan. Did I pronounce that right? Okay. She's a lifelong UU and I cannot pronounce that word, and she's studying for the seminary at the United Theological Seminary. She's also an executive director of the Channing Murray Foundation at the University of Illinois and a singer-songwriter with a particular interest in music for chaplaincy. You want to stand up and say hi? Now, we value everyone in this congregation. Doesn't matter whether you're purple, what your skin tone is, what your sexual orientation is, what your politics are. We welcome everyone. And if you're visiting with us this morning, we especially welcome you. We have all kinds of things to help make your visit very pleasant. We have big letter hymnals in the back if you need one of those. Sometimes I think I do. And we have hearing assist devices in the lobby if you need one of those. So now if you would silence your phones, we can have that taken care of. I do want to tell you, though, that we're very proud of our campus here at our church. We recognize that we're just caretakers of it for the next generation. And we recognize that the Lakota people were the caretakers long before we ever set foot on this land. Today is going to be a very busy week and a busy day. First, the good news, we hit 200,000 in our pledge drive. Does everybody know what that means? Ice cream. You know, don't you? So be sure and go to coffee hour and enjoy some ice cream. Now, our next goal is 300,000. And what happens then? When is it the purple hair? What do we have to hit? 350. Oh, 350. Gosh, you can tell what my goal is.
But pi is 300.
Oh, pi is 300. And then purple hair is 350. Hers, not mine. We have a really busy week here at the church. It's the end of the pledge drive. We had a hoedown last night to kick off the auction. The auction is open. There's all kinds of information around the campus about it. And if you want to bid on something and don't know how, Lindy will be around in the back to help you. We've got all kinds of other things going on, too. We have a Beltane ritual. We are going to have a discussion about Breathe, A Letter to My Sons by Imani Perry. Let's see, we got a drum circle today. We will be discussing next weekend mistakes and miracles and how other predominantly white UU congregations work to become more racially and ethnically diverse. And like I said, we're in the middle of our pledge drive. And now I have someone very special who would like to talk to you about the pledge drive. Jean? And don't forget, 350 is a purple hair.
Good morning, everyone. Let me get out my notes here because people my age have a little trouble with memory sometimes. There we go. Did I mention that people my age have a little trouble with memory sometimes? The pledge is important. It is a very important part of the whole UU milieu here. And I would like to tell you what brought me to the UUs. And I actually became a member back in 99, I think it was, but it was some 20 years earlier that I had my first contact with the Universalist Unitarian Church. And that was through a friend of mine. We were both heavily into libertarian politics at the time. And he said, I would like to, talk to the people at the church about libertarianism. And being a election year, I said, yeah, let's do it. So we went, and of course, I was a little nervous at the time, being new to the libertarian movement and being absolutely raw to the UUs. So what I found was a group of people who, let's see, what's a good way to put it? Were good listeners. They were willing to accept different points of view and very cordial to us. Okay, fast forward 15 years. Now I have a 5-year-old daughter and I'm looking for a church. I'm looking for a church that won't be heavy on dogma, that will be a little more liberal toward things. And she and I began regularly attending this church. And what I found was, looking at the UU principles and beliefs, it was the one thing that appealed to me was the logic of it. One God seemed logical. A God whose creations would never be condemned to an eternal damnation struck me as logical. A God that wants us to coexist despite our differences, very logical. And the people who hold these beliefs, I found people who think, people who ask questions and don't rely on prefab answers, people who span the religious spectrum from traditional worshipers to hardcore atheists. In short, I found a home. As we were coming back from New Mexico last year, my wife and I went through Missouri, and there was a billboard that someone had taken out. And it said that freedom of religion doesn't mean freedom from religion. I told my wife that I beg to humbly disagree, or words to that effect. If the founding fathers made one thing clear, it was that the option to believe as one's conscience dictated was the only way to avoid certain nasty incidents, like the 100 Years' War or the Crusades. And the UU's faith in their fellow humans, not only is it the best way to get through life, it's the only way to get through life. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle put it nicely when he spoke through Sherlock Holmes and said, once you have eliminated the impossible, whatever is left, no matter how improbable, must be the truth. Very logical.
Interesting. Thank you, Jean. The annual campaign, just to clarify, is part of how we put together the commitments of funds that will be used for our ministries in the next fiscal year that begins on July 1st. I really appreciate everybody's generosity and support. It's great to hit the 200,000 today. I look forward to hitting the 300,000, and oh my gosh, the pie commitments have been very generous. So we get to look forward to that. And boy, I'm really looking forward to that 350 because, purple, that'll be good. Ooh, that'd be good. Let's bring that in. All right. So now at this moment, I want to invite folks to greet your neighbor. This is how we also extend our welcome to one another. And also because we are a community of consent, please ask before offering a hug or a handshake. And after a minute or so, I will return us into worship with the opening of our first hymn. Please greet your neighbor.
Chalice extinguishing words.
Didn't I send that to you? I did not send that to you. Oh, it was up in the oh, the beauty. Oh, do I have to get that one? Oh, God. Oh, I don't know, man. Ah, for the beauty of the earth, for the splendor of the skies, for the which from above. I know, but you got to rise in body or spirit. Thank you, thank you. So now, let us listen once and we sing through all the verses together. Please be seated. Okay.
Happy Earth Day. Happy spring. Spring, yes. I am really happy to be with you again today for the first time since just about this same time of year in 2017. I had remembered that you had beautiful stained glass windows, but I had forgotten how beautiful your stained glass windows are. It's wonderful to see them again. I really want to thank Reverend Jennifer for inviting me to be part of, this is actually one of my very favorite services of the year, to do an Earth Day service with you. And for this service, we are going to be celebrating our incredible planet and bringing forward diverse women's voices in praise of our world. This will not surprise you, but you might have noticed that there's a lot of hard news out there these days. But there is also so much to celebrate. When I walked up and saw all these extraordinary flowers, I don't know what it does to you, but it just makes my heart start to sing. And all you have to do is walk outside and see the red buds and flower and the dogwood trees. And it's hard not to feel your heart lift. I sometimes say that in the central Illinois area, there are 4 really great weeks of the year. There's the 2 weeks in the spring, and we're right in the middle of them, and then the 2 weeks in the fall when the leaves change. So I'm so happy to be with you right in the middle of one of those 2 times of the year that are so amazing. In my neighborhood, it really does feel like the dogwoods and redbuds are singing in joy. Or as Zora Neale Hurston, the great African-American writer and folklorist, wrote, "Oh, to be a pear tree, any tree in bloom. Come, let us worship together this morning."
And let me invite Bill and Isaac and Tim to come and join our chalice lighting.
Light is Returning by Kate McPhee.
Around us, light is returning.
It rekindles the spirit of life in the skeletons of trees.
It brings forth new shoots from the soil.
It wakes us from our winter slumber and invites us to see what lies beyond.
We light the chalice in the spirit of our earth's awakening and to reaffirm our commitment to the value of our home.
Go light the candle.
Sing me a story of nature divine. I am but starlight, sand and time. We are the forest, we are the tree, growing together in the great deep. Oh, this is our story, this is our song, planted by stars, our seeds are strong. We are the water, we are the wave, breaking through, our love finds a way. Lift thine eyes to the clouds overhead, root my feet in the rich soil bed. We are the warmth, we are the wave, woven together in the great deep. What storms may come, what future awaits, songbirds sing, my spirit awake. Love won the sunlight with every new day. Blessed assurance in nature's way. Blessed assurance nature's way.
Thank you very much. It's always nice when your guest minister brings their own accompaniment, isn't it? Now is that time a lot of people have a little bit of uncomfortableness about, and that's being asked for money. But we have lights, we have heat, we have air conditioning, and all of that needs to be paid for. One of the things that attracted me to this church was the fact that we're not just inside our four walls, that we are participating in our community. And one of the ways we do that is with Share the Plate. And Share the Plate takes half of the money that is in the platters and gives it to an organization which we feel reflects our values. Today, the Share the Plate is the Central Illinois Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired. They've been providing support, encouragement to the blind and visually impaired since 1955. They teach Braille, help set up households, provide assistive technology, and offer other services, including social events and outings. You can put your money in an envelope if you want and mark it only to go to the Share the Plate organization, or just throw the money in and it'll go half and half. And now if the ushers will pass the plates. And when they're about halfway through, I'll invite you guys to come up and do your candles of caring. That's another routine that I enjoy. It's always nice to have some routines in your life, and lighting candles of care and joy and concerns is one of mine. You're gonna have to light the first candle because desk. One is we were thrilled to have such a good turnout for our Cleaning Up the Campus weekend. I don't remember all the names of everyone who helped out, but they looked like they had fun as well as got a lot of work done. I'd like to share a joy. This joy is for Terrence Lindsay. He has secured a job with Pearl Insurance. And I will light one last candle, and that is for all the suffering in the world and for all the spoken and unspoken joys and sorrows which are on our hearts.
And now we will receive the story.
For our story today, I want to share something written by a very great American woman, Rachel Carson. Who here has heard of Rachel Carson? Hey, pretty good. Okay. So she was a marine biologist and a writer born almost 120 years ago. And she died in just about 60 years ago, April 14th, 1964. Back in her day, there were very, very few women scientists. Does anybody know a woman scientist now? Yes? Yeah, they're around now, but not then. So she was brave and a groundbreaking person. And she was most famous for a book called Silent Spring, written in 1962 about how chemicals in the water were really changing the natural world. And nobody had written a popular book about the environment in that way before her. Some people say that Silent Spring was actually the beginning of the modern environmental movement that led to the very first Earth Day in, anybody know? I think, or maybe 72? 70, okay, great. See, that's just sort of crowdsourcing the story. Maybe more than any other single person, we can thank Rachel Carson for giving birth to environmentalism. What I want to share today is from an essay she wrote that is less well known called A Sense of Wonder, about sharing nature with children, or children sharing nature with adults. It takes place on the coast of Maine, which she loved very much. It was her favorite place. It's where her ashes were scattered. I'll read a little bit, and then I want to ask you to imagine at various times in the story. One stormy autumn night, when my nephew Roger was about 20 months old, I wrapped him in a blanket and carried him down to the beach in the rainy darkness. Out there, just at the edge of what we couldn't see, big waves were thundering in, dimly seen white shapes that boomed and shouted and threw great handfuls of froth at us. Together we laughed with pure joy. He, a baby, meeting for the first time the wild tumult of Oceanus, of the ocean. I, with the salt of half a lifetime of sea love within me. But I think we felt the same spine-tingling response to the vast, roaring ocean and the wild night around us. So now I'd like to invite you, if you're comfortable, to close your eyes. And if you've ever seen the ocean or maybe Lake Michigan, imagine what it would be like to be there in the dark, in the middle of a storm. Are you there? People there in that storm? Yeah, it's quite a feeling. Okay, when you want, you can open your eyes again. She goes on to say, a night or two later, the storm had blown itself out, and I took Roger again to the beach, this time to carry him along the water's edge, piercing the darkness with the yellow cone of our flashlight. Our adventure on this particular night had to do with life, for we were searching for ghost crabs. And it was so good to see his infant acceptance of a world of elemental things, fearing neither the song of the wind, nor the darkness, nor the roaring of the surf, entering with baby excitement into the search for a ghost. That's how she spells it, ghost. He must not have had T's yet. So, who here has seen a crab? Yes, okay. Wave your hands like a crab if you've seen one. This could be a new UU alternative to applause. We can be crabs. Thank you, that was great. She goes on to say, it was hardly a conventional way to entertain one so young, I suppose. But now, with Roger a little past his 4th birthday, we are continuing that sharing of adventures in the world of nature that we began in his babyhood. Wouldn't you have loved to have had an aunt like this? And I think the results are good. The sharing includes nature in storm as well as calm, by night as well as day, and is based on having fun together rather than teaching. A child's world is fresh and new and beautiful, full of wonder and excitement. It is our misfortune that for most of us, that clear-eyed vision, that true instinct for what is beautiful and awe-inspiring is dimmed and even lost before we reach adulthood. If I had influence with the good fairy who is supposed to preside over all children, I should ask that her gift to each child in the world would be a sense of wonder so indestructible that it would last throughout life. So Rachel Carson reminds us of how wonderful it is to experience the beauties of the earth, to really experience it. Whether you are a kid or a grown-up, I'd like to invite you to turn to a person next to you or behind you and just tell them one thing that you have seen in nature in the last week that made you happy. Since it's spring and just about as beautiful as it can get, I'll bet you have something to share, and I'll ring a little bell to end. So find someone that you can share something about, something beautiful you saw this week. Has everybody had a chance to share? I'll give you just another quick minute. And if you didn't have a chance to share, I hope you brought something to mind, and maybe it brought just a little smile to your face. I saw lots of people smiling out there. Okay, this next thing I have to say before the end is just for the grown-ups. So kids, you know, this isn't for you to listen to. It's just for the grown-ups. So Rachel Carson talks about sharing nature with children. But I think, this is my personal opinion, that children can teach us and share nature with us. We distracted ones on our phones and with our to-do lists and everything else. I invite you, if you have a child in your life, if you're lucky enough to have one somewhere in your life, or you can find one, maybe one of the ones sitting near you, you could borrow one for a few minutes, to take a little time and let that child show you the small and hidden wonders they see around them. Let them teach you. Okay? All right. And I think something happens here that involves the children leaving us, if they so wish to. Is this true? A recessional? I think we sing now.
Yes, we do.
Oh.
Is Morning Contemplation by Myotai Treese, a Zen teacher and writer who lives in Black Mountain, North Carolina. I go out to coffee and Kali at 7:34, official sunrise, to sit in the woods. The chorus is in full swing: crow, cardinal, tufted titmouse, flicker, blue jay, and junco. I'm so glad they're back. Yesterday, I listened to podcasts and read for a while about the sixth great extinction, the huge losses in animal life since the 70s, the lack of political will to address this or so many other crises, and woke in the mood of that grief, sadness, anger, regret so familiar now for so many of us. And then all this spring fever singing all around me, pinking trees, green uncurling from seemingly dead branches, vim and verve and vitality that is inarguable. I know in the fold of time there are only a few decades left for moments like this, and tear with gratitude, horror, vow. I hold to the larger, vast, unknowable, where I put my faith that wisdom and kindness are seeding universes and timelines, and it matters that each of us love, notice, pray, celebrate, and work to stop suffering, not because we'll save the day, but because it is the truth of who we are.
I invite you to rise in body or spirit for our hymn number 175. We celebrate the web of life. I think this is a hymn, it's a little bit new to me and maybe a little bit new to the congregation, so we will listen through once and then sing through all the verses. If you would like the music in front of you, please choose 175 in the gray hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit.
As I was preparing for this service, after Reverend Jennifer invited me, I came across a website of Earth Day quotes for 2023. That's this year. There were many inspiring quotes, but as I scrolled through, I noticed a certain pattern. Written by a man, another written by a man, another written by a man, another written by a man, yes, and so on. Somewhere way down the page, I finally got to a couple of quotes by women. And I thought, wow, really? 2023, and there aren't women writing about the environment in ways that might be important to quote for Earth Day? And of course, environmental writing has also traditionally been dominated by white voices. And today, I want to fling open the doors and windows and celebrate the powerful and wild words of young women, older women, Black women, Indigenous women, LGBTQ women. I sort of imagine it like giving you a great big, I had no idea when I wrote these words what was going to be behind me, but a great big bouquet of gorgeous flowers in honor of Earth Day. I think sometimes, too, people think that Earth Day is meant to be a day of mourning and righteous grief. After all, we are in a bit of a pickle, if you hadn't noticed. The chickens of our long love affair with fossil fuels sure seem to be coming home to roost. As a botanist and ecologist, I see the changes with my own eyes all over the country. And yes, there is grief. But I think we are more likely to act from love rather than from grief and hopelessness. I know hopelessness doesn't lead us to action. And maybe it's not even about love in order to act for the earth, but just love. Plain and simple, the love and awe that Rachel Carson described in The Company of a Child. All the women that I will be reading from today are people who've inspired me for a long time. As I gathered these flowers for you, these excerpts, I noticed a certain pattern, a different kind of pattern. Each of these has a feeling of embodied, even sensual, wholehearted connection with the natural world and joy. And that reminded me of the performance artist and sexologist. I was told it was fine to talk about this because you're in the middle of OWL right now. Annie Sprinkle, who along with her wife, somebody knows who Annie Sprinkle was, coined the term ecosexual. Seriously. It all started in 2008 when they organized a big wedding ceremony where they married the earth. Since then, they have married the sky, moon, sun, water, and even the Adriatic Sea in a big ceremony in Venice, inviting many people to take vows right alongside them. The first time I heard of this, I had an absolutely spontaneous outpouring of delight. I just thought it was the best thing ever. And now I know what I am, an ecosexual. It was a revelation. We have to add that to the end of that acronym, the E. Although I have never taken formal vows to a non-human being, I feel vows to the earth in my heart. I spent the first 35 years of my adult life in a devoted relationship to some of the most endangered plants on this planet, working to find them and keep them from blinking out into extinction. So yes, I am a proud ecosexual. You could also be one if you felt like it. And in that spirit, let's hear the voices of other women who love this earth, wholeheartedly and fully embodied. My first reading for you, appropriately, is by Eve Ensler. She is a Tony Award-winning playwright, performer, and feminist activist, best known for her play, The Vagina Monologues, first performed in 1996 and still being performed around the world today. She is also a founder of an organization called V-Day, which is a movement to end violence against all women, cisgender and transgender, those who hold fluid identities, non-binary people, girls, and the planet. A few years ago, she premiered a new one-woman play called In the Body of the World, which celebrates the strength and joy that connects a single body to the planet. Here's an excerpt, which are words of herself to the earth. Enjoy. I am made of dirt and grit and stars and river, skin, bone, leaf, whiskers, and claws. I am a part of you, of this, nothing more or less. I am mycelium, petal pistil, and stamen. I am branch and hive and trunk and stone. I am what has been here and what is coming. I am energy and I am dust. I am wave and I am wonder. I am an impulse and an order. I am perfumed peonies and the single parasol tree in the African savanna. I am lavender, dandelion, daisy, dahlia, cosmos, chrysanthemum, pansy, bleeding heart, and rose. I am all that has been named and unnamed, all that has been gathered and all that has been left alone. I am all your missing creatures, all the sweet birds never born. I am daughter. I am caretaker. I am fierce defender. I am griever. I am bandit. I am baby. I am supplicant. I am here now, Mother. I am yours. I am yours. I am yours. The woman whose writing really inspired me for the idea of this service of really bringing forward women's voices is Joy Harjo, who is a member of the Muskogee Creek Nation, indigenous woman, and a former poet laureate of the United States. She lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Although she is mostly known as a poet, she wrote a memoir that has both poetry and prose called Poet Warrior. Here it is. And I was in the library a while back, and it just caught my eye, and I stood there in the library, and I read a little piece from this book, and I thought, oh, when I do that Earth Day service, I want it to be the voices of women. So what I'm going to read now was written to her first granddaughter at her birth. I could read you many things from this book, so I had a rather hard time deciding what I was going to read to you, but I think I'm going to read this one. And it's kind of a meditation, so if you want, you can kind of take it in that spirit. Now, breathe. And when you breathe, remember the source of the gift of all breathing. When you walk, remember the source of the gift of all walking. And when you run, remember the source of the gift of all running. And when you laugh, remember the source of the gift of all laughter. And when you cry, remember the source of the gift of all tears. And when your heart is broken, remember the source of the gift of all breaking. And when your heart is put back together, remember the source of all putting back together. Perhaps a more well-known Native American writer in the last few years is Robin Wall Kimmerer, author of Braiding Sweetgrass. If you haven't read Braiding Sweetgrass, it's so great. It's actually used a lot in various parts of it are used in UU sermons these days. She is a mother. She's actually a trained botanist, but also trained in her traditional indigenous understandings of plants, a professor, and an enrolled member of the citizen Potawatomi Nation, and she lives in upstate New York. This quote comes closest to my own daily commitment, I would say, my own vow. Even a wounded world is feeding us. Even a wounded world holds us, giving us moments of wonder and joy. I choose joy over despair. Not because I have my head in the sand, but because joy is what the earth gives me daily, and I must return the gift. Joy is what earth gives me daily, and I must return the gift. One of my truly great heroes, or should I say heroines, is the Buddhist eco-philosopher and teacher Joanna Macy. She's the author of many books, including World as Lover, World as Self, and more recently a book called Active Hope. She is 93 years old and still teaching. And over the years, I have had the privilege of attending several workshops with her, most recently at the First Unitarian Church in Oakland, California, and through Upaya Zen Center online since the pandemic has been happening. And here's a really beautiful quote from her. I found this quote, I think this is actually more like she was speaking rather than writing, so you can hear the voice in it. There's a song that wants to sing itself through us. We just got to be available. Maybe the song that is to be sung through us is the most beautiful requiem for an irreplaceable planet. Or maybe it's a song of joyous rebirth as we create a new culture that doesn't destroy its world. But in any case, there's absolutely no excuse for our making our passionate love for our world dependent on what we think is its degree of health, whether we think it's going to go on forever. Those are just thoughts, anyway. But this moment, you're alive. So you can just dial up the magic of that at any time. I'm just going to read that last line and try to feel it as I say it. But this moment, you're alive. We're alive. So you can just dial up the magic of that at any time. I want to thank you for accompanying me through these voices. We'll have one more at the very end. But I want to close with a poem of my own, written while I was on a Buddhist retreat in Spirit Rock, a retreat center in the hills of Marin County, north of San Francisco. Not quite sure when it was written, but it was sometime after 9/11, when our sort of endless time of war had begun. And I've never read it aloud before, but it is so in the spirit of this service, I want to offer it to you, my last flower of the service to you. It's called Above Spirit Rock. April Marin Hills, impossibly green, so green that the heart quivers, can hardly bear it. Sweep of grass and trees like a song, a singing in everything. Even in each of the small clover petals folded tenderly within one another. Even in the whirls of these fingertips, and in the body's harsh jubilation, climbing the ridge, sweat and breath. There's war now, and war ahead, and everything has shattered and will again. But now the spring wind rises, and the hills roll to the bay, and the little towns nestle in the folds of them, and I bend down to the clover, a leaf of California Bay crushed in my hand, and my feet lift me up higher into the blue air. The oaks are proposing to everything today. And as their pollen enters me with each breath, there is nothing but this heedless, infinitely graceful and impossible song that demands these eyes, these lips, these hands, this voice in service to its loveliness, as integral to its loveliness. Thank you.
Please rise and body our spirit for our closing hymn, number 1064, Blue Boat Home, by our most excellent Unitarian Universalist musician, Peter Mayer. And I invite us, as we sing, we will listen once, we will sing through the verses together, to keep this as a singing out as companions and a singing out to the earth itself. So let us sing, Blue Boat Home.
As we extinguish this chalice, we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Our closing words and benediction are from Mary Anais Heglar, a young Black activist, writer, and host of a podcast called Hot Take on climate justice. She lives on the Gulf Coast. I love this beautiful, mysterious, complicated planet we get to call home. I don't mean any simple, sappy kind of love. I don't mean anything cute or tame. I mean living, breathing, heart-beating love, wild love. This love is not a noun. She is an action verb. She can shoot stars into the sky. She can spark a movement. She can sustain a revolution. Blessed be for this earth and for us.